Overview. Could I tell you that quiet can be your most effective weapon is the act itself, of retreating and claiming that nothing can produce a change-causing ripple effect. The reality is that the majority of males undervalue the impact of leaving, not as a sign of failure but as a calculating action when you cut up communication with a woman's response is more powerful than, let's be honest, her statements could have been, the majority of guys are afraid of the thought of remaining silent. They believe it indicates losing command or appearing helpless. However, the harsh reality is chasing, begging, or making an effort to clarify only makes you look weaker. Women aren't attracted to men who are always looking. They are attracted to males who are aware of their needs. Intrinsic value, notwithstanding the fact that rejection. As soon as you cease participating, something changes in a woman's dynamic, will observe, even if she acts as though she... Why won't her thoughts spiral out of control? Is he still phoning, or has he lost interest? He suddenly noticed someone else. Roles in reverse for the man she used to feel comfortable disregard turns into the one she can't stop contemplating. But here's where things become interesting. Not all women respond similarly when you go. Some will constantly pursue you if you remain silent, while others will push you to the limit to take back authority. And then there are those that won't give a damn, are the ladies that didn't genuinely appreciate you. Start by acknowledging these distinctions is essential to determining whether is she worth your time and effort or merely a distraction. We're diving in this video. Exploring the psychology of the way a lady responds to your silence, discover the nuances of her feelings. Your absence is the cause of her conduct, and how to take advantage of this information to keep your authority. So have you ever been disoriented in the cycle of pursuing an evasive person? This serves as a reminder that silence isn't. The conclusion marks the start of a new game, one in which you ultimately assume command. She begins seeking your approval. She begins to pursue you for confirmation as soon as you stop speaking. Something interesting occurs to a woman. She begins to wonder if this is particularly if she's accustomed to you being accessible at all times and sending texts first, or constantly attempting to make things better. When there is disagreement, you remain silent. Becomes unbearable to her, and abruptly she used to take the attention for granted. Feels as though she is no longer able to live without. And why does this occur? Simply said, human psyche flourishes on confirmation when you consistently offer. She feels reassured and given attention. Safe in your company, almost as if it's assured. But when you remove that, you add a degree of uncertainty. Like everyone else, women are drawn to. Undoubtedly, individuals desire to feel appreciated, adored and sought after. So when you step return, she begins to sense the lack of this absence, and your confirmation initiates what initially appears to be a chase subtle. She might respond more quickly to your posts on social media, make me chuckle, overly harsh on your jokes, or bring up inside jokes that you two exchange. But as time passes, her behavior can grow more straight. She might inquire as to why. You've stopped talking or mentioned something, ostensibly arbitrary, in order to obtain your focus. Even minor behaviors are her method of looking for confirmation that here's the key, that silence has denied her. This goes beyond her simply missing you. The calls or texts are about her having to recognize that you still care about her. Many women view validation as a mirror. It shows how valuable they are in the gaze of another person when you cease offering. She begins pursuing that reflection. Consider the following situation. A man is dating a woman accustomed to him phoning each to check in the evening. But one day he switches to the radio instead of calling. Silence, concentrating on himself rather than initially contacting her because she believes he must be occupied. But by day 2 or 3, she begins to feel uncomfortable asking questions. Creep in. Why doesn't he call? Did I do something? Is he losing interest? Something's wrong. All of a sudden, she is the one messaging him. Inquiring about the status of things or discovering justifications for reconnecting this shift are strong, since it rebalances the dynamic when she begins to pursue it. Because a gap has been created by your absence, that she is eager to fill, but this you don't divulge the secret to her. Keep quiet and allow her to. Her acts make her intentions clear. Does not imply being cold or manipulative. It entails realizing the might of providing her room and allowing her to consider what your presence truly entails. When she pursues you and what it means to her, it goes beyond simply getting approval again. Patterns of following her. The objective is getting you to stop being silent is easy, and let her know she's still in the control. In the event that these gentler approaches fail work, her strategies could become more complex. Can attempt to arouse your jealousy by saying that she has other men in her life, or publishing images with mysterious annotations on social media. This is how she expresses, "Look at me, I remain attractive, and the trick is here, but you're missing out." This has nothing to do with the other males or the images to determine whether you'll break under the strain and extend your ha. It's about understanding how much she cherishes you. She tests you more than she anticipated. She pushes your limits to take back control, setting limits to take back control when you. Among the first things to do is to quit chatting to women. She might do things like test your limits. This isn't always a conscious action that is frequently motivated by a wish to reclaim the authority she perceives. She's lost the ability to think about things this way by become quiet. You've interrupted the balance that she has become accustomed to. Abruptly, she doesn't know where she supports you, and this ambiguity can make her do things you wouldn't anticipate. That boundary testing will frequently occur. Modest forms first. She could send ambiguous or taunting messages such as, "Are you too busy for me right now?" or "What?" Someone has stopped responding to these comments, intended to elicit a response and observe if you revert to your previous end. For instance, if you've been dating a woman who has always been accustomed to you answering her texts within a few minutes, however, you have now chosen to take a back seat and first concentrate on yourself. She sends a "Did you misplace your phone?" message, playful. When you don't respond right away, she provides a more focused follow-up. "I suppose I'll just spend time with someone has genuine time for me." This is where the majority of males go wrong. They react when they fall into the trap, defensively, or make an effort to defend themselves, believing it will make things better. But in reality, responding merely validates that she passed her boundary test, but she's still in instead. You must maintain your, when you don't respond to her, ground provocations that compel her to face her own actions. She starts to understand that pushing yourself won't get the response she's seeking, and at this time, she either understands your newly discovered independence or indicates that her motives were never sincere. When a woman tests, the lesson is straightforward. Your limits. It's not an indication of strength, is an indication of insecurity by remaining composed and collected, and you demonstrate to her that you're a guy who respects himself enough to play games. And this is what happens in the end. Gains genuine respect. 3. She acts as though she acts indifferent, but in reality, she overthinks not caring but inwardly overanalyzing, one among the most prevalent and annoying responses you'll observe after you cease. Speaking with a woman is the pretext for she will pretend that she doesn't care. "You're quiet doesn't worry me." Her, but she's secretly overanalyzing. She seems to be trying at everything, to persuade herself that your absence has no significance while, in fact, this is all she can think about. The simplest protection mechanism women dislike, showing signs of weakness. Especially when they believe they may be the one losing command, so rather than demonstrating how much your silence is impacting her, she will pretend to be brave. She may appear aloof or make it appear to be content without you, but in actuality, she's doing just what you're pondering, what is actually happening on, and the reason you withdrew. However, this is when the intriguing part begins. While feigning indifference, she's truly extremely conscious of everything you complete, each post you share, whenever she observes you going out with another person, or even in the unlikely event that you leave her on read. For several hours, she will examine it, may begin to speculate about things that overanalyzing doesn't actually matter. Each and every single detail is consistent. Thinking too much is an indication that your silence is producing the intended result, that you've allowed her time to think. But in the procedure that she has been inundated with inquiries as to why he hasn't called meet a new person, is he truly losing interest, or is he only putting me to the test? Though rarely expressed, thoughts can absorb her thoughts and feelings, the cause of it's easy for her to act indifferent. Vulnerability is frequently interpreted as weakness, yet a lot of women are taught to conceal. They don't want to appear helpless or clinging, thus they conceal their actual sentiments, but the truth is that the majority of the more she does it, the longer they can conceal it. Attempts to appear unaffected by it becomes increasingly clear that she's not. She is constantly thinking about you. The stillness you've brought about has made her completely upside down, and she's frantically attempting to understand it. It's similar to a puzzle that she finds difficult to solve, and each time she attempts to justify your behavior that she ultimately develops even more queries. This is among the most strong consequences of becoming silent. You don't need to speak or make any huge statements. Nevertheless, your absence is effective. She may appear distant to you, or she may even attempt to convince you that she's completely okay without you, yet ultimately she's simply trying to play the same game, keep things together, while covertly wondering what's on your mind and feeling that the fight is an emotional one that the majority of men don't even notice. But by remaining silent and defending your position, she is forced to face her own sentiments, she'll second-guess herself, and she will eventually begin to inquire. The inquiries that will cause her to, despite her best efforts, reach out to you, attempts to appear indifferent she looks to someone else for validation, looks to someone else for approval. When you cut off communication with a lady, face it. Perhaps she will look for confirmation in other places. This isn't always about moving on or replacing you. Sometimes the goal is to calm the ego damage that can result from quiet. But the harsh reality is that if you've placing you in a situation where he feels the necessity of seeking attention from another person, you might want to ask dynamics of the relationship in the prior to becoming defensive. Take first spot. Let's talk about something significant that It is a mistake for males to assume that silence is a magical strategy that will always function. But let's face it, if your lack of response seems immature, inconsistent, or just plain deceptive, it's not surprising that she might look for comfort. Women don't want to feel that way anywhere. They're playing an emotional game. If you've been stringing her, tug of war, along with not offering clarity or persistently vanishing and then reappearing, she isn't an issue when it works for you. When you employ quiet purposefully, you can make room for introspection and dialogue. But when it's misused, or it can drive a wedge when used as a weapon. Between you, then thrust her directly into the arms of a person who is capable of treat her with respect. This isn't about putting all the blame on males, it's about responsibility. If you don't provide mutual respect or security consistency, how do you think she'll spend her time? Waiting endlessly for the other side of breadcrumbs awakens if you've been really explicit and purposeful. However, she continues to look for approval. Some individuals are on her elsewhere. Those who are addicted to attention will pursue anywhere they may locate this type of. Such conduct is a clear warning sign, and straightforward woman who is quick to look for confirmation from a different individual that someone isn't there when you stop talking. You wish to devote your efforts to, so here's some advice. Don't just concentrate on her response, focuses on your behavior as well. Ask yourself honestly, are you using keeping quiet to control her, or are you making room to construct something significant if it's the latter? Reaction will reveal all of your must be aware of her personality and be mature emotionally. But don't be a fool. If she goes directly to someone you, otherwise consider it a wake-up call for validation. Call regarding not only her but also the type of partnership you're selecting, because you will ultimately deserve to be valued for who you are. You don't require continual attention. To feel worthy, pay attention to your maintain high standards. And keep in mind, relationships require reciprocity. You're walking in the correct direction. She totally vanishes, the real story of apathy. She totally vanishes in direction 5. The reality of apathy when you give up on a woman. There may be a chance. She may use an entirely different approach. She completely vanishes and doesn't text. No phone calls. No covert efforts to obtain your. It seems as though she disappears into thin air, making you question whether she even gave a damn about this in the first place. Response is frequently misinterpreted on the surface. It could appear that she's unaware or unconcerned. However, the situation is far more complicated when a woman evaporates once you stop talking. She typically does one of two things, either sincere or she's defending herself. If she has truly done so, it indicates she was already emotionally detached. Prior to ceasing communication with her, the distance wasn't created by quiet. Disclosed it in this instance, she's probably been awaiting the chance to relocate. And your inability to communicate just granted her permission. This might be a difficult thing to accept, but it's a crucial truth to confront a woman who vanishes since she hasn't finished. Initially, I was very immersed in the long term. You don't want to chase, although she usually does. The purpose of a disappearing act is not completion. Regaining control is the goal when a lady feels as though her authority is eroding in her instinct may be too active with sketch. Completely consider it a type of sentimental self-defense, as opposed to pursuing you or displaying weakness. She eliminates removing herself completely from the equation, wishing to feel more in control again throughout the circumstance. This response may be profoundly. Men find it frustrating because it feels as that you're being abandoned or disregarded. However, the point is that there was no reaction. Silence is not a sign of apathy, rather it's strategy that she's probably going back to. If you get there, see if you'll break first. Out to her, proving to her. The disappearing act was successful, but if not, it compels her to face the truth about. It's crucial to comprehend that you're losing you, that this response doesn't always. She doesn't care, in fact, and it happens frequently. Indicates the reverse when someone leaves silence, usually as a result of internalizing their feelings. She's probably considering her alternatives, questioning whether remaining silent will protect her pride or whether contacting her will. Her compassion and clarity in difficult circumstances is your best quality. Avoid the temptation to pursue her or attempt to make amends if she. The test of vanishing is your absence of response. Will demonstrate to her that you're not readily influenced, and if her quiet is sincere disinterest, your self-control, will spare you the trouble of making an investment in an individual who isn't totally committed to. Ultimately, the truth about this indifference is rarely as easy as it appears, whether she vanishes to try or defend herself. Your best course of action is to maintain your composure, allow her behavior to show who she really is, goals, and have faith that the appropriate individuals will appreciate your presence without needing to coerce you into demonstrating. This is the startling reality that, in conclusion, nobody wants to acknowledge. Whether you're persistently pursuing a woman who looks to others for approval, you're squandering your time. It's that easy. Regardless of the amount you invest psychologically, if she's seeking attention from another person at that time, you retreat. It's not about you. Regarding her own, don't fool yourself with your insecurities, believing that using silence to play games will force her to pursue you if she isn't ready to put money into the partnership. Likewise, don't accept being a backup option, and I understand that this could hurt a little, particularly if you've been entangled in men. Here's the thing: emotional drama. Wake up and quit attempting to be an individual's emotional journey. In each relationship, true power comes from maintaining your position and being aware. If she can't see it, you're worth it. Let her leave. So tell me about your encounter in which a woman looked for. Did you receive confirmation from someone else? Did you fall for it? Or did you recognize that? You feel free to share your stories in the comments section. I'd love to connect and talk about the following: how you managed it. Let's exchange and gain knowledge. Collectively,